Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This is a Better Way with Kirsten podcast, and you may be watching it on YouTube, in which case, please leave this video a thumbs up if you like it, and also subscribe to the channel. That way, you get a notification every time when I post a new video. Or if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, there you can subscribe as well, and you can leave me a 5-star rating and a review, which is very much appreciated because that will help the show to become visible for more people and more people can get help. What am I talking about on this podcast? I am talking about something called TMS. So, to put it short, I try to put it real short. This is a condition where you have various pains or other sensations in the body that are pretty uncomfortable or very uncomfortable. In some cases, extremely uncomfortable. And you have been trying to find help, of course. So, you've gone to several doctors and other health practitioners and nobody has been able to help you. So you keep searching and searching and you get nothing because this condition is actually coming from overly stressed nervous system. And you may be a person who's not dealing with her emotions. You might be highly stressed out, very anxious. So anxiety is one of the biggest reasons why we develop these issues. And the cool thing about it is that there's nothing physically wrong with your body. And of course, it feels so real. Like with my back pain, or if you listen to Kat's story, she was a guest here a little while ago, a couple of episodes ago, and she talked about it too. She had such a terrible back pain, but there's nothing wrong with her back. She even got surgery for it. It didn't help. The pain came back. So this was clearly a case of TMS. And if you're dealing with something similar, don't think that this is only true for back pain. Although I feel like back pain is the most common problem that people have and the most common TMS sensation. But there's so many other things, and some of them are really, really strange, I would say. Something that people are totally like, what is this? Right? You can have like a burning mouth, or you can have chronic fatigue, and not just I'm a little bit tired, but it's like I'm a total, like, I just can't even move my fingers, like that level of exhaustion. It can be numbness, it can be tingling sensation, it can be so many different things. And a lot of times the doctors are just, saying that this is a nerve damage and this is this and that. And it is important that you get checked out and make sure that there's nothing truly going on that you should be paying attention to. So definitely don't take this as like, oh, everything is TMS. It is not. But if nobody has been able to figure out what exactly is going on and nobody has been able to truly help you and you haven't gotten any relief from these various treatments, then there's a good chance that this is TMS. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about emotions and specifically about sadness. So if you know me a little bit, you know that I personally started getting a lot more relief when I started digging into the emotional work. Because for me, the typical tools like get back to life, resume normal everyday activity, tell your brain that you're safe, they didn't do anything anymore for me. Like I had gotten to a better place where I was having less pain. It wasn't as intense, but it kind of stopped there. And for me, it was really learning about emotions and understanding what is stressing me out and how I am perceiving my day-to-day life and my thoughts, right? What kind of thoughts are running through my mind? Oftentimes very negative thoughts, very kind of fearful thoughts and emotions. So I really had to dive into these things. And when I did, it took time, but I started getting a lot better. So for me, it made a significant difference. And that's why on this podcast, I talk a lot about emotions. And one of them is sadness. This is what we're going to discuss today. And I know that a lot of people have very hard time with admitting that they're sad about something, expressing their sadness. But this emotion, just like others, when it's not expressed, it will almost like get stuck in the body, right? It starts living its life in the body because we are emotional beings and we have to express our emotions. And now, if something sad happens and we don't express it, we push it down because we want to look tough and like we have our shit together and nothing's ever wrong, then we potentially start feeling these things in the body. I want to give you a couple of examples of what I've heard from people, and maybe this is something that you resonate with as well when it comes to why they are not expressing sadness. So one thing that I've heard is when this person was a little girl, she often heard that when she cried, she heard that you got to stop it now, or I'm going to give you a real reason to cry. Right. And this is clearly sending a message that crying is bad. Being sad is bad. You got to avoid it. You got to bottle it up. Don't show it. Right. Or I'm going to give you a big reason to actually cry. And this is it's just really bad for a little kid to hear because of course our brains are like sponges, especially when we're little. We take it in, we make our conclusions. Okay, I'm not supposed to do this, and we grow up with this mindset that sadness is bad. I have to avoid this. Another thing that I just recently heard was that somebody told me that when her sister passed away, their mom said that you're not going to show any emotion at the funeral. You're not allowed to. And she never did. She just forced it down, and the mother did the same thing. And there you go, no expression of sadness at all. And this is just not healthy at all. Because, like I said, and I know that it can be so hard to believe if you've never heard about this before, but emotions start living their lives in your body. They need to get out. It's like, I like to think of like an instant pot, right? There's a pressure inside. And when you open that valve, the pressure comes out, right? So this is what we want to do with our emotions too. But if we are not allowed to express our emotions, then we can start feeling them physically. And if you're thinking that I'm not an emotional person, I don't have emotions, but at the same time you have chronic pain or other chronic sensations, then I can tell you that this is clear evidence that you do have emotions because these aches and pains and other discomforts in your body are your emotions. You can also think, what is a synonym for the word emotion? Feeling, isn't it? So it's a feeling. You feel it in your back, you feel it in your neck, you feel it in your GI system, maybe when you have constant stomach problems. So these are your emotions. And again, I know that, your doctor probably hasn't told you that because they just don't talk about stuff or there's not enough awareness. But that doesn't mean that this is not a real thing. It's a very, very real thing. There's plenty of literature out there, plenty of research that proves it too. It's just not as common knowledge as it really should be. Now, coming back to sadness, you may have also learned to avoid sadness because you saw, right, somebody else being sad at your home, your mom or dad or another person that was close to you, and it hurt you. You didn't want to see them sad, so you learned to hide your sadness because you didn't want to cause any more trouble to that person who was already sad. That could be one thing. And something that is, for me personally, and I actually realized that fairly recently, was that I was really ashamed of my sadness and the way I looked when I was sad. So just to give you a little bit more of what I mean here. So when I was little, I had, my sister, 6 years older, and then we had our cousins live with us too for a certain period of time, a total of 5 years. And they were all at least 6 years older than me. And then one of them was 8 years older than me. And of course, I was the little one who was teased a lot. And this is just what kids do, right? They tease the little ones. They would sometimes like take my toys and just, mess with them, do something to them. And I started crying. And I had this thing where my voice actually went away. So I don't mean like I lost my voice, that like figuratively, actually, literally. Like I started crying. I get this feeling in my throat and I just couldn't speak anymore. And that was really funny for them. The other thing that happened was that my chin started shivering just when I was about to cry. And they made fun of that too. It's like, you had this face, it's super funny for them, right? My chin is shivering and my voice is gone. And I just want to run to mommy and, have her comfort me. And this happened a lot when I actually think about it. It wasn't like a daily thing or anything like that, but it did happen every now and then. And of course, they had a good time. And now, don't get me wrong, we all get along very well and like super grateful to have, my cousins and my sister and everything is fine now. But this is just what kids do. And it's just like it shows how a kid's brain can really take in the things that happened early on and then develop certain patterns based on those incidents. And for me, this really became one of the things that I became so ashamed of. Like, I can't let anybody see me cry because, oh my God, look at my chin. Here it comes already, starts like shaking and shivering. It's so freaking embarrassing. And like I said, I realized it fairly recently. And I was like, oh, that's why I don't want anybody to see it. For me, it wasn't even necessarily like I have to be like super strong or something. It was just like I was so embarrassed of like what I looked like when this sadness came over me and I started crying. And it was maybe, it was several months ago at this point now, but when I started exploring my sadness a little bit more and I started using journaling, I do journal frequently. I started journaling, and some cases, some incidences started coming back to me, and they did make me cry. And I usually journal like first thing in the morning. I get up way before my husband does, and I just sit here and journal and drink my morning drink. And I always wanted to make sure that, when I journal, that he doesn't see when I'm crying. And it happened like a couple of times when, he would get up and he would walk in and I would feel so embarrassed, like, oh my God, I look so dumb. I don't want him to see me this way. And thinking back to it, isn't it, I don't want to say crazy or weird because that is just judging myself. And there's no reason to judge myself for what happened in the past. And this is just a reaction to what happened in the past. And I felt like now I'm reliving that past. It's just how I was. And it was like really weird. And it took me a little bit of time to understand that he's not going to judge me for it. He's not going to make fun of me. And what doesn't matter what my face looks like when I'm letting the tears out. He's definitely not going to do it. He knows very well what journey I am on, and he's the last person on earth who would make fun of me. But this memory in my brain was just so strong, and I learned that I have to keep it in. And still sometimes, it happens that I'm like, oh my God, I'm saying it's so sad. Like, can I show it? Can I not? It's just like really difficult. But it has gotten a lot easier. And when you allow yourself to, just let the sadness come on and then let the tears out because this is how sadness wants to come out. It's all normal. It's all natural. Like I said, we're human beings with human emotions, and there's nothing to be ashamed of when it happens. And another example that I want to share with you from my own, personal life, like how I was ashamed of sadness, was that we also go to breath work, right? So about once a week, we go to a breath work class. Really, really awesome. Shout out to Breath Energy in Phoenix. And breathwork, I've done another episode on that topic, like completely why I do it, why it's helpful. I actually interviewed both of our breathwork guides, Jake and Kim. You can check it out. I try to find the episode and link to it in the show notes, but it can be very profound experience if you do 1 hour of deep, deep breathing. It's called conscious connected breathing. We're just in and out, in and out, in and out as deep breathing as you possibly can. And that can really sometimes take you to very different places, sometimes emotionally, right? You start to feel a lot. Sometimes mentally, you may feel like, a big realization came to you or a certain message or something like that. But it's also very physical. So for me, it is very physical always. I always feel a lot of heat. Sometimes I feel cold. Sometimes I feel as if somebody's touching like my shoulder or my chest or something like that. It's a very profound uh, thing, like a way of, what is it? It's not meditation for sure, but it's just very, very healing. And I've been doing this for maybe 2.5 years, very, very regularly. Anyway, I want to come back to why I even started talking about breath work is that, like I said, sometimes it brings up big emotions. And lately, we had a really difficult time. So one of our family members is doing very poorly, has very bad health, lots of problems, and we've been really, really worried. And we also got to spend some time with that family member and just seeing it very, very close, how hard things were, how unwell he was, and taking care of him for a week or two was just a lot. And of course, when we were there, I also did cry because I sensed that, okay, this is not really too good at all. And, I did cry a couple of times. But when we went through that breathwork class, more emotions came out. And during the class, it's pretty common that emotions start coming out. And I just cried, right? And at the end of the breathwork class, there's always a closing circle. And in this closing circle, we share a little bit about our experience. You can say a lot. You don't have to say much at all. You can just say it was a great experience, but you can also go into detail. You can share whatever. And then this time I said what I felt. And I said, this was really sad. I felt a lot of sadness, and I feel like I cried more than I did breath work. And as I was saying this, I noticed that my voice also started kind of going away, just like going weak, just like it does when I'm about to cry. And I just said, okay, I was really sad. This was very hard. But thank you for this experience. And the music was great, whatever. And it did sound really sad. And then I started feeling a little bit like, oh, did I share too much? Was it too much what I said? And oh my God, now everybody knows that I was sad. I still got this feeling. It was still like I'm a little bit of like ashamed of my experience, or not my experience, but sharing this with others. But the reason why I shared it with others is that I have actually come a long way. Now I am admitting that this was the feeling that I was feeling, and I let it out in the same room with like 30 other people. And it was okay to admit it and say, this was my experience. So this was actually a really positive thing. I see it as a great, great step. But later on, this little bit of like regret or a little bit of like shame kicked in, like, oh my God, did I actually share this? Oh, was it too much? And it started spinning in my head, like, do other people think that that was dumb? Like, should I have kept it to myself? And it started bugging me. And of course, I knew that no, this is not the case. Like this breathwork class is a really good place. Like this is the place where to let the emotions out. And the people who are there know what's going on because they are here for the same thing. Like this is spiritual work, and people are here to do the same thing. So I know that people probably not judging me. And even if somebody was judging me, what can I do about it? This is out of my hands, right? I can't do anything about it. But I still, I thought about it for a little while, and then I just let it go. I was like, you know what? That's fine. Actually, what I did was great. It was like freeing, and it was a good experience. And this is how you start doing it. I'm not saying that you have to go like out in public and cry in front of everybody, like, it doesn't have to look like this, but little by little, like start exploring your own emotions and also allow your own sadness. What does it feel like? It fucking sucks. Let me tell you, it's so heavy and it's so hard, and you're sobbing sometimes, but that's okay. Like you don't have to put your crying face on Instagram unless you really want to, do it. You don't have to go out in public and show this to everybody, but start with yourself. Start admitting it yourself. Yes, I am sad. Sit with it. See what comes up for you. What do you feel and where? Is it somewhere in your body? Is it in your chest? Like, is it cry? Do you feel like your face is turning hot? Some tears are coming out? What is happening? And it's so important that you are honest with yourself, and that you don't start pushing away what you're feeling, that you don't go like, oh, I really shouldn't, or no, this is dumb, or no, 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 I can't, I have to be strong. You have to be like really raw and honest with you when you are working with any emotion, but I feel like sadness, especially, maybe, well, actually all of them, you have to be really honest with yourself and feel whatever you feel without any judgment. Because third time on this podcast, I'm going to say, you're a human with human emotions, and sadness is one of them. And one cool thing about sadness, yes, believe it or not, there are cool things about sadness. One of them is that it's actually a very connecting emotion, because when we are sad and when we let ourselves experience it and express it, like somebody will see it and want to support us and help us. This is actually our way of like seeking connectedness, right? We want to connect. It's not like we're going to connect over like, self-pity or something like that, but there will be somebody who feels like, oh, like I want to give her a hug. I want to share this experience. I want to tell her that I feel the same way. I want to tell her that what she's feeling is valid. So in that way, sadness is actually connecting, and it's okay to show it, to get that support from others. And that's exactly what happened at the end of this breathwork class too. Totally unexpected. One woman after the class walked up to me. I've never talked to her before. And she gave me the biggest hug and said that it's gonna be all right. So this was just so beautiful. It was moment of connection. Like I said, never talked to her before. And there's nobody there like pointing fingers and laughing. But there's a person who came and gave me a hug. And then another person later told me that, I don't know what's going on, but if you ever want to call, just text me and let's talk. It's connection. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of what you feel. I feel like the more open you can be, the better. But of course, you can, choose like who you're open with, and you don't have to go like blasting everything, but with safe people in a safe environment, and maybe just start with yourself. Start with yourself. If you've never admitted your sadness ever before, start there and see how it goes. Sadness is also a big topic in my emotionally fit course. It is module 6, is fully dedicated to sadness. And of course, we go over some other emotions there too: anxiety and fear, sadness, shame. Shame is a biggie. So these things are what we discuss in this emotionally fit course. I'm super pumped. I've been getting great feedback from people who have enrolled in this course. And if you're interested in it too, if you are maybe, let's say you've made some progress with this TMS work, but you've never looked into emotions and you're not where you want to be with your pain, symptoms, all that, and you want to recover more, you want to get to the next level, then work with your emotions. And I think this course is a really, really great help. It can really help you in some really awesome ways. So you can check out the course Emotionally Fit. It is linked in the show notes and YouTube description as well. All right, this is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I talk to you again soon. Take care.